I've logged on just a few minutes earlier. I'm testing out live streaming to Facebook again. So I wasn't sure how long that would take. So I wanted to make sure that that did not impede on the original start time. So that's why we're starting this video a little earlier. Pretty seamless to be able to stream this via Get Response onto Facebook. So just another opportunity to reach your audience without having to do extra work necessarily. Really, very, very simple. So we will get started here in about 6 minutes. I wonder how it looks on mobile. Oh, wait. All right, everybody. We are testing the live option here through Facebook. So let's see how that goes. We'll be getting started with the presentation in about 3 minutes. I wanted to log on earlier to make sure that um, we could work. I think I tested this the last time that we did a webinar, and I don't remember it being complicated, but I couldn't remember, so I don't want to. I didn't want to be late to this presentation, so we're on a few minutes earlier, but we're going to wait until 1 o'clock for everyone to arrive that registered or that is joining us live on Facebook. Okay, and we are recording. Okay, perfect. Okay, we have one more minute before we're going to get started. Okay, so it is 1 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started and just kind of have people filter in as they log on. Um, Today's webinar, we're going to be talking about ChatGPT 101 best practices for scaling quality content creation. I know there's been a ton of noise about ChatGPT, AI. And sometimes I feel like when something new comes out and it's such a like huge thing, and it has a ton of capabilities. When you ask your network or people in the industry about it, they give you sort of this blanket answer and they say, "Oh, you can do anything on it." And I find that that does nothing but overwhelm me even more. It's much more. It's a lot easier for me to understand how something can be useful to me and or my business if I have examples, if I have concrete examples of how to leverage this tool. Just telling me, throwing it out there that it can basically do anything because it can does not help me at all. So that was the inspiration behind setting up this webinar, especially considering we're in the marketing space and this has been a major disruption. Some good, some bad, but we're going to cover how this tool can be used for you, whether you're in marketing or if you have a marketing person on your team. So the webinar today, we're going to be doing a very basic introduction of chat gpt. We are not going to get too technical. I'm going to do my best to keep it as high level as possible, but I do think it's important to just have a basic understanding of what it is, so you know as you're using it and as things evolve, you can learn how to use it better. We're also going to be talking about getting an understanding of your target audience before you start putting content together. It's really important to understand some basic things, some basic marketing things about your target audience so that you are using this to create quality content. You can do a bunch of stuff in there. And it's fun to play around with, to jump in and just kind of see what it can do. But if you're using this for business, you need to marry what's going on with your target audience and what you can do with ChatGPT. And then finally, we're going to talk about actually creating the content, like some plain examples that you can use. We've got prompts that you can literally copy and paste. Of course, if you're on the webinar, if you registered, you'll have access to the replay. So these are prompts that you guys can get started with, and understanding kind of what category certain prompts fall under, which we'll break down a little bit. And so you can evolve your search techniques as you get more comfortable with the platform. If you are new here and this is your first time on a webinar with us, my name is Kelly Kelly. I'm the founder and CEO of Brand Method Media Group. We are a digital marketing agency and we help our clients elevate their online brand presence through strategic and creative digital experiences. So, naturally, this is definitely in our wheelhouse. I think since the start of the year, myself, as well as other colleagues that either have agencies or are marketing executives, have been really, really scrambling to get comfortable with the platform and see how we can use it to help our clients even more. We have been in business, this is our fifth year. I've been in communications personally for 20 years. I know that is aging me, but that's how long I've been in communications, traditional PR, marketing, and then digital. I am a wife, mom of two, and I'm in the Atlanta area. All right. So I want to just, like I said, go over a basic introduction to what ChatGPT is, nothing too techy. And we're going to talk about some advantages that you can use specifically for content marketing. Okay. So simply put, I think I'm going to mess this up the whole time. I'm sorry. Simply put, ChatGPT is an AI powered language model that can understand and generate human like text. So basically, you put in a question or an inquiry of some kind, and it will provide an answer. It's kind of that simple. It's almost like Google, but definitely more specific. And you can craft your inquiry to get extremely detailed, and that's probably the best benefit of it. And the advantages of using ChatGPT are certainly efficiency and scalability. And we'll talk some specific examples with that. Um, if you've heard anything about it, especially in the world of content and writing, a lot of people in that space have felt like they are out of a job. And unfortunately, some companies are scaling down their content and writing teams because ChatGPT can do anything. Now, I'm not advocating for that one way or the other. I certainly think this still requires a human touch, but it is amazing the efficiency of which you can pump out a blog post if you input quality prompts, pump out social media captions if you input quality prompts. As where a human team, it would certainly take you a lot longer and cost more. Also, the creativity and the inspiration. Sometimes you don't know where to start with an idea if you're talking about content, and this can literally give you a list of ideas. So that's another thing. And then the language adaptation and personalization. So you can give it prompts on tone. If you want a more conservative tone, if you want something funny, if you want something, depending on your audience, you can also add a prompt, a piece of your prompt to talk about the tone that you want the output to have. And just it's a time saver. And when you're looking for research and fact checking, now I will say, uh, when it first came out at the beginning of the year, it was a situation where I think it only went up to, it was only kind of pulling from information up to 2021, I think. But now we have past that point as well. But it's always good if you're talking about facts, it's always good to double check those facts when you're using this. But this certainly helps with the time saving. Okay, from the efficiency standpoint and scalability, you can generate ideas and do real time marketing or real time writing assistance. And this helps your content production efforts. Let's say you used to dedicate, 2 hours of your week to write one blog post. You can literally get a blog post churned out within seconds. As long as you are giving the proper prompts, this will take that down quite a bit. The other part is that you can do this across different channels. I'll give you guys an example. When we use ChatGPT to draft the blog post, we have human writers. It feels weird to say human, but we do have human people that do go back and edit. But the process of creating a blog post, which includes not only the blog post, but the social media captions, the meta description, all these other things that are a part of promoting the blog post, you can do that in one sort of stream. So you go to Chat GPT, you say, hey, write a blog post on the impact of climate change on blah 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 blah. So it pumps something out. You read through it, you make your edits, what have you. Within that same sort of form, you can say, now write me 2 social captions to promote this blog post using human conversation, the emojis, the best hashtags based on this information, and it will give you social captions for that blog post. Let's say you also want to promote that blog post in your email newsletter that may not come out for another week. oh, please write a short blurb about this blog post to be included in the email newsletter that we send out monthly, and it'll give you a short blurb. You can give it character limits, write a email blurb in 70 words or less, and it will do that. Um, Website copy, you can put in your current website copy and say, hey, refresh this based on these keywords we want to rank for over time, and it will do that. So you're not just talking about one sort of marketing channel. It can take the information. If it just gave you 1,000-word blog post, you can also ask it to create supporting pieces of marketing content for that one. So again, the scalability is pretty insane. Now, about the creativity and inspiration, ChatGPT can give you a list of ideas, and much like the example we just went over, you can piggyback off those ideas. So if you say, "Please give me 5 ideas um, for a webinar related to ChatGPT," it's going to spit out 5. It'll be idea number 1, idea number 2, and then you say, "Okay, I like idea number 1. Can you expound and give me 5 key points that would be good for this webinar for idea number 1?" And it'll give it to you. Um, and someone's obsessed with ChatGPT. Yeah, it's amazing. And it'll help you break that writer's block. So instead of staring at a blank screen and just starting from scratch, you have the ability for this program to generate the idea. You still have to have the wherewithal and the skill set to take the ideas and do something with them. But sometimes it's just like, I don't even know where to start. It's so much going on in my head. How do I slow it all down and create something? Okay. Yeah. So the writing styles, the tone of voice, we kind of touched on that, which I really like, because depending on, since we're an agency, we have clients, some are super conservative with their content, some are a lot more bold with their content, and we can include those in the prompts to be able to get something that is also speaking to the brand. So that's language, time saving research and fact checking. So you can basically use this as a starting point. When you're talking about facts, I would always recommend cross referencing that with something. A simple Google search, if it spits out some statistics and facts, I would recommend that you plug that into Google or some sort of credible statistical website and fact check. But at least you're not starting from ground zero with this. All right. So understanding your target, how can this assist with creating your content? And then tips on leveraging ChatGPT to gather insights and do audience research. Okay. So we talked about idea generation, language understanding, adapting to preferences, cultural relevance. You can also include that. And then feedback driven refinement. So if you've ever used the platform, whenever it spits out something, you'll see a little button. It'll be a thumbs up and a thumb down, number one, and you can say thumbs down and give it feedback. You can also regenerate the response. If it spits out something and it sounds a little too generic or it's not on, par with what you're trying to do, you can click the regenerate response button and it will give you something else. And as you're doing this in the background, it's aggregating this feedback, right? So if you do a bunch of thumbs down, it's kind of storing that up and saying, okay, she doesn't really like this language, or, this didn't work for her. What's the pattern here? And so that it can start to understand and adapt to what your preferences are. All right. So we kind of talked about this, the idea generation, the preferences. So it also analyzes and learns from existing content that resonates with your audience. So if you are catering to a specific audience and you input that in, it's going to gather all the information online about what that audience generally likes. And that's going to help it to spit out the best type of content for you. Okay. So you want to be as detailed as possible in your prompts. And we'll talk about that when we go through some of the charts that we have for the specific prompts. And let me just ask real quick, does anybody have any questions? One thing I meant to say before, because I got this in an email, and I've also seen this happen on a different webinar. please feel free. This is a safe space. You can ask anything you want. If you don't feel comfortable asking because you maybe don't want your question public for whatever reason, you can private message, and we won't say who it's from or what have you. But I just want to put that out there. If you have questions, there is no stupid question. All of this is happening at rapid speed for everyone, and nobody has all the answers. So feel free to send the question in private chat. We have moderators available for that, but I meant to say that at the beginning. So feel free to ask if you have any questions related to what we are covering. Okay. Um, so cultural references, um, include that in your prompt. If you say you are speaking to a group of youth ministers, it's going to take that information and source everything they know about what youth ministers may like, and it's going to use that to craft a response for you. So try to make those responses as detailed as possible. So here are some things that you can do to leverage ChatGPT. So trend analysis. So what you can do is try to find like popular topics, emerging trends, relevant words that can be incorporated into your content. We've literally, like I said, for the blog post, when we want to create a blog post, we will also say, what is a good keyword phrase for this blog post? So that's going to help us to be able to reverse engineer the SEO as we're pumping out content. It's not just kind of out there in the wind. It's still anchored to a purpose to either grow our website visitors by way of search, if we wanted to run an ad. So it aggregates the trend analysis for you, and you can use that to craft your inquiry. Content gap identification. So you can establish yourself as a valuable resource and attract a wider audience if you kind of use this to leverage thought leadership. So you would start and say, hey, create an outline of um, how Mid-Journey can impact the advertising industry. And it will give you an outline, and that'll help you. Some people prefer to use it that way because they don't want to feel like they're copying what ChatGPT is saying. So if you get an outline, you got the idea part down, it's giving that to you, but then you're filling in the key points and the topics. Okay. And then this is the feedback integration part. It analyzes a response and starts to understand their preferences and pain points. All right, so this is the part where we talk about some specific prompts and stuff that you guys can use. Number one, these are the four sort of techniques, the buckets that prompts fall under. So you can take a question based approach, you can do a comparative analysis, you can do a related keyword exploration. I kind of touched on that, or you can do a content mashup. So the question based approach is when you pose a question related to your content or topic, and you can prompt the model to provide insightful answers that can be sectioned off too, or create an outline. So you can also give it the prompt and say, hey, I want this in a bulleted format. I want this in a comma format. If you say you want a list of the best hashtags to use and you add on there, it might give you the default might be a bulleted format, but you need it in a comma format to put into YouTube. It'll do that. If it gives you the bulleted point, all you have to do is right under there say, can you make this in comma format? And it will do it. And all you have to do is copy and paste it. Okay. So here is an example of a prompt, very basic. What are the key benefits of using social media for business? So this is the response that it would get. And you could have it in an outline idea format. So based on the response that it gives you, you can then create an outline to do whatever you want. Maybe you want to create a blog post. Maybe you want to create a webinar. Maybe you want to create an ebook. Maybe you want to create a white paper, and you just need some sort of help with like nailing down the structure as opposed to starting from a completely blank screen. All right. You can also do comparative analysis. So this is when you compare, different aspects or elements. So you can ask it to compare different products or strategies or approaches. And then you can use that to create an outline, do like a pros and cons. right? So what does that look like? So if you say compare and contrast traditional marketing methods with digital marketing, and I know that text is small, you guys will all get this, but it'll basically give you a generated response. You can then put in and say, hey, format this in an outline format, or format this as like an outline, and it will give you the outline. So then you have the generated response. You could break that up into social media captions if you want it. And then the outline, you could again use it to create something, a lead magnet. You could use it to create um, anything else that is in the area of thought leadership. Related keyword exploration. So this is when you provide a list of relevant keywords and you say you want it to build something, you want ChatGPT to build something around it. So this is very much like our blog example. You can also do this with your website. We just did this with ours because we're going under a brand refresh. And you can say, like, we're getting very serious about our SEO, and we're doing all the research to figure out, what are the best keywords for our industry, and, based on the page and our goals and all this type of stuff. But we reverse engineer the copy for the site page by starting with the keyword. Hey, we are a digital marketing agency, and we want to build our About Us homepage, our About Us page, around this keyword phrase. Can you create copy based on that? We've also included, which we'll talk about later, a content mashup. We've also included the link to our current page. You can pull inspiration from this link. You put all that in ChatGPT and it spits out pretty good stuff. I would never, ever, ever suggest that you just take what it spits out and like never look at it or edit it, but it definitely gives you a great head start on like what could end up being a 2-week process, right? Creating website content or things like that. Okay, so this example, it's generate content ideas based on these keywords. And the content idea list is the content and marketing ideas, the role of SEO and content marketing success, strategies for audience engagement through content, yada, yada, yada. Again, you could take those individually, you could make it one piece of content. You could also create an outline and do something bigger for your content. And this is the content mashup. So this is when you take a few different pieces and you ask it to create just like a comprehensive source of some kind. So that example could be generate a content outline by analyzing the 3 provided blog posts. Now, let me tell you something about this example because we use it a lot. This is going to go a little bit into something else, but I think it's worth mentioning. On the back end, when you're looking at your analytics and you see, for example, if you're looking at the analytics for your blog post and you see, the top 3 are for the last month are, X, Y, and Z, you can use that and say, okay, well, it may be old posts. It could be a post from years ago, but it's getting a lot of attention. That could be for several reasons. But what you need to do is take action and say, hey, create an outline because you maybe want to do an ebook by analyzing these 3 blog posts because it's already gotten attention and it's already gotten people engaging with your website and engaging with this specific topic, right? And so these are examples of like how you can use that. Okay. And we kind of touched on this. So you can do blog posts, social media captions, email newsletter, website copy. These are just some kind of step by steps that you can do to help create your blog post. These are for social media captions, which are probably the easiest and the quickest. I mean, you could put something in and say, hey, create 30 social media captions based on this white paper or this ebook, and it'll do it. And like I said, don't be afraid to use the regenerate response button in order to get it, as good as it can do, and then take that to whoever, if it's you or your writer, and have them refine it. So email newsletters. So here's my thing on email newsletters. I feel like they're so nuanced. I do see the value for ChatGPT to create blurbs. Like if you do a newsletter and it has, you're promoting an upcoming webinar, you're promoting a blog post, you're promoting community service. I think if you give it piece by piece and say, "Hey, create a blurb, a blurb suitable for an email newsletter in a human tone, human friendly tone, conversational, under 100 words." That's easier than just say, "Hey, this is the topic of the newsletter. Just pump it out." I think you just get more value when you kind of piece it up, but you can still use it for newsletters. And then website copy. The other thing about website copy that's pretty cool is that, even if you just have a basic understanding of SEO, H1 is super important, right? The code of your headlines and that type of thing. So if you tell it to um, give you website copy, you can say, I want it formatted with listing out H1 title, H2 title, and it'll do it for you. So it's really just as simple as like editing, refining, and then pasting. Okay, so one of the things you want to make sure, or several things you want to make sure, is that you do your best to give it like your brand voice or your client's brand voice. So you can start to train the Chat GPT on specific examples, um, and it's just super important to provide clear instructions. And you know what? Once you first start playing around with it, it might not pump out the best stuff. It does take a little bit of work and practice. So don't be shy about that. This goes through each one of those, but I'll let you guys kind of sift through this. Certain characteristics you can put in words like playful, modern, conversational. I want to refer to the audience as you. I want this in first person. I want this in third person. There's all sorts of things you can include in your prompt to get it to pump out exactly or as close to exactly what you want. Keywords are important from an SEO standpoint. Um, and it really helps with the brand voice. So you want to make sure you're providing clear instructions. And this was long. We didn't want to miss anything, but I feel like we probably covered some of this earlier. So once you're going through the presentation, make note of the prompts that we have. There's a lot of information out there on prompts that you can use. I would recommend starting maybe like a spreadsheet for the different marketing channels you're using. So you can have a file that's like, you can start like a list or a spreadsheet and say, hey, these are my prompts I'm going to start using to create blog posts. These are my prompts I'm going to use to create podcasts. These are the prompts I'm going to use to create webinars. And so then when you go in to do those things, you don't have to kind of move around and say, no, what was I supposed to say to get the blog right? Or what was I supposed to put in to get like an outline? If you keep track of that, you'll always have a reference to come back to. Um, Okay, so yeah. So yeah, that's a good way to do it. So thank you guys for joining the webinar. We're going to try to get this to you guys as soon as possible so that you can start using it to make your life easier and creating better content. This has been an absolute game changer for myself, for my colleagues. This does not replace human expertise. This does not replace common sense. It is just an aid to make things leaner and scalable, especially as we all are trying to grow our business or satisfy our stakeholders. Even if you're an employee in marketing, everybody wants more for less. This is not a replacement of you as a marketing professional or a content creator of any kind. It's really just a tool, and you still have to know how to use it. So please feel free to email with any questions. And other than that, we'll see you in the next webinar. Thank you so much.